Hey family, this is Paula G, and you are watching Music Vision Television right here on PositivePower21.org. Hey family, welcome to my journey. I'm your host, I'm your host, Paula G, and with me for this episode is Dr. Fred Newsome. Yes. And when I tell you I'm excited to have this gentleman with me today, because he's going to share his journey on a couple of dimensions. How are you today?
Good, doing very good. Thank you, Paula.
And it's an honor to have you here with us today. So thank you so very much. We're going to jump right in. Take us on your music journey, how it got started and we'll get to where you are today.
Well, I'll say my music journey got started when I used to work with the Stellar Awards.
Okay.
I actually started off when the Stellar Awards did their, I think, 11th or 12th show. Mm-hmm. And I was actually doing bus trips to the Stellars. So I used to get a group of people together from different areas, usually local areas, but then it just branched out from different states and different cities.
Okay.
And we used to do bus trips to the Stellar Awards. And the Stellar Awards actually saw how faithful I was at doing the bus trips, because I did it for several years.
Right.
So when the Stellar Awards got ready to form their academy, Stellar Awards Gospel Music Academy, which is now the official voting body of the Stellar Awards, they asked me to be one of the members of there as soon as they started. So I prayed about it, and some people say, well, why pray about that? No, you pray about everything. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy path.
Absolutely.
So I prayed about it. God gave me the green light to join the board, so I sent my information back, said I'd be glad to be a board member. And they said, well, just forming this, and your name came up in the meeting, and, we want your confirmation. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I think working with the Stellar Awards, I think I worked with them for like 15 years. Okay. I was on the advisory board for 4 years. And then I just kept going, doing bus trips and everything to the Stellar Awards, and ended up bringing a lot of people to the Stellars. But I was a part of a member of the Grammy Awards as well. So when they saw some of the things I was doing with the Stellar Awards and my credentials, they was like, wow, well, I put my name on the list for Board of Governors for Grammys. Which is, anybody know anything about the Grammys, that's the highest board you can get on with your name, but you actually had to be voted on. So I was nominated a couple years, and I thought that was pretty cool, but I think from there, seeing I was working with the Stellar Awards and the Grammys, being a Board of Governor nominee for the Grammys, I said, well, God put in my heart to do Newsome Awards. Well, I really didn't want to have nothing to do with any Newsome Awards, because I'm like, well, Lord, I'm doing good, working with these two programs, trying to get on the board of the Grammys and all that. And God's like, do your own show.
Wow.
So I branched out from those two programs, started doing the Newsome Awards. And this year, we'll be celebrating our 23rd show.
Wow.
And the artists we've seen come and go through the Newsome Awards, a lot of artists still out there prevalent today in the country, and they have been nominated for Stellar Awards and won Stellar Awards, and I think nominated for Grammys, and just to see all these Newsome Award artists now at these different platforms is totally amazing, Paula. Totally amazing to see how God has just opened so many doors for so many people, and it's just amazing. And just to know you had a little hand in it, maybe not a whole lot, but you had a little hand in trying to help push those careers. And that's really the whole design behind the Newsome Awards, is that I want to find ways to push those different artists that couldn't get pushed any other way, or nobody wanted to open the door or create a platform for them. So God put the Newsome Awards in my heart, and we had an opportunity to create an amazing platform for a lot of people, a lot of artists.
So I'm listening to this, and I'm hearing you. This all started with bus trips.
Bus trips.
So I'm not quite connecting the dots. We all started with bus trips. And through the bus trips and the exposure, we're on these different boards, we're getting noticed. and years down the line, we're starting our own awards. So kind of take me back to the bus trips. And what kinds of things along the, okay, we're at the awards, what kinds of things are we learning along the way to prepare us to be in position to have our own awards?
But let me say, starting with the Stellar Awards, and then them seeing how faithful I was just with the bus trips.
Okay. Just organizing the trips.
Just organizing the trips, just bringing people down to the show. We had a couple shows, 2 or 3 shows in Atlanta. I think they sold out in Atlanta. And then it just went from city to city every 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So just the faithfulness, and I would say this to anybody.
Right.
God watches your faithfulness. Other people watches your faithfulness to see, are you faithful to the calling and faithful to the ministry?
Right.
And me just being faithful to doing what I was doing. And like I said, we would have people come from different states, different cities, from everywhere.
So just the fact that you're organizing these trips, because you got to get the buses and the people and payment and all, I'm not trying to get too specific, but
right.
Payment, all these things that have to come together in order, logistics.
Right.
The logistics of it. Okay.
We formulated all that. I had an amazing team always work with me. To this day, I still have an amazing team that work with me. Mm-hmm. Even with doing the Newsome Awards, people think I do it all by myself. Impossible. That's impossible. You can't do it all by yourself. So even doing the bus trips, I had people just helping me out everywhere. Mm-hmm. And obviously, they were excited to go to the Stellar Awards. Right. So, it was an amazing experience, because even to seeing how amazing that show is.
Right.
That is one of the amazing award shows I've ever seen. I've been to the Grammys, I've been to the Stellars, but just seeing how those 2 programs are put together, it has to leave people in awe.
Right.
It have to, because they do an amazing job.
So you picked up a lot of skills, experience, expertise, the tools that you needed along the way. All these different experiences, you picked up the tools that you needed along the way to create the Newsome Gospel Music Awards.
Exactly.
Okay.
I did. I watched a lot of what they did.
Okay.
Even when I attended the Grammys, I sat high up in the, it wasn't really the balcony, but it was high enough up that I could just see a lot of stuff that went on.
Okay.
And I'm a note taker. Even if I take them mentally, I'm still a note taker.
All right. So everywhere along though, because I'm still trying to connect. Like, okay, how do you pick up all this stuff? So you're just watching, you're just absorbing, you're just taking all this in and seeing how it all comes together, how to coordinate it, how to organize, how to put it together.
Right.
Okay.
I'm watching, I'm observing, I'm taking notes. Like, okay, this is how to do it. Okay, I didn't. That's interesting. And I'm just taking notes, mental notes, and I'm like, okay, wow. All right. Well, okay. Well, I'm not at that level. And the thing of it is, you have to realize where you're at, what you're at, what position you're in.
Right.
And I wasn't at that level, obviously, where they're at. Mm-hmm. But it was just nice to watch. It's just like watching an NBA basketball player, but you're in high school.
Right.
You're not at that level.
I like that analogy.
But you can watch and say, wow, okay, look how Michael Jordan did that, or look how LeBron James did that, or you got that high school kid, boy or girl, doesn't matter, looking at that individual and saying, wow, this is, that's a nice move. Well, I did that in the music business.
Okay.
Everybody else wanted to learn to sing. Mm-hmm. They want to learn, I want to go to the show. I said, well, I never met enough celebrities. I need to see how the whole thing works.
How all this is put together.
How all this is put together.
So we figured all that out. And then we started our Newsome Awards.
Started the Newsome Awards after that.
Okay.
Now we do a very nice show, nowhere near the level. I'm just straight. I told you I'm a straightforward person. Nowhere near the level those programs are. Mm-hmm. But we do good enough that everybody's satisfied.
Right.
But and for the Newsome Awards, like I said, I'm straightforward. We average 300 to 500 people to our show. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't, if anybody come and look for 2,000 or 3,000, you probably wouldn't find it at our show.
Do you think someday we'll get to that point?
Oh yeah, eventually.
So we're on that. So this is part of the journey.
Right, exactly,
okay,
and that's the journey.
That's the journey.
That's
part
the journey.
of the journey. Okay.
So we're going for that, and plus I do a lot of other projects. So we really don't have time to put into doing 2,000 or 3,000 people to a show.
Newsome Kingdom. There's a movie that you did, the record, the Miss Newsome Baltimore Film Festival. You got all of these different things, plus your record company.
Yes.
That you started.
Yes, which 2017. Extremely excited about.
Okay.
The record company came into play because I've heard so many stories about artists and record companies, artists and record companies, artists and record companies. And it's been on my mind for years. Some extremely famous singers wanted me to start a record label like 5 or 10 years ago. Right. And I just told them I wasn't interested in it. Right. And they was like, Mr. Newsome, if you started, we'll sign with you. I said, I know you're good. I know you're famous. I know you're known all over the world.
But it wasn't for you at the time.
It wasn't for me. And that's one thing, me being a carpenter, like Jesus, but me being a carpenter, one thing they taught us in carpentry school, never bite off more than you can chew. Ooh. That one statement stood with me for so many years, Paula. Never bite off more than you can chew. Till this very day, I still use it. Every project I work on, I'll tell people right off the bat if I can do it or if I can't do it. Right. If I can't do it, then there's no sense in wasting your time. You're not going to talk me into it.
So in 2017, you were biting off what you could chew.
Exactly.
And starting the record company.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
it's timing.
The timing.
The season.
The season, and it's God's time. It's God's season. Okay. Because even with doing the record label, I think I had about 20 artists that wanted to join me, and a lot of them were friends of mine. Okay. So, but I picked the 4 that God put on my heart. And obviously, some of those artists that are friends of mine, when I didn't select them, they were like, wait a minute, Mr. Newsome, you know us. Right. I said, but I had to select the people God put on my heart to select. And that left a bad taste in some of their mouth, which I know that, but you have a choice. Either you're going to obey God or you're going to obey man. Right. And I'm going to tell you, every time I'm going to choose to obey God. So if God says select these individuals, those are the individuals I'm going to select.
So as the industry, and you may not necessarily want to voice it because it might be classified information. No. But as we have evolved in the music industry, you know, we started with, well, we might have started before 78s, but we started 78s, we went to 45s, help me with my order, 33s, the 8-track tape, what do we have after that? Cassette tape, I think we had after that, then with CD and now digital. So what do you feel, if you choose to share, will be or is the key to longevity in the music business?
I'll tell you what the key to longevity in the music business. One, you have to realize what you can do and what you can't do. Okay. With a lot of artists today, a lot of them never count up the cost. Okay. And I'm telling you, I'm coming straight from the Bible. Yeah. Anybody that read me, anybody that know me, like, man, he always talking scripture. Well, that's the only way you're gonna live. Right. If you don't count up the cost, I'll give you a quick example. I have many friends, hate to say it, I have many friends that put on concerts, and they'll bring in an artist that may charge them $5,000 or more, and you got to do advertising, promotion, all this good stuff, but your venue only seats 400 people, and you charge $10 a ticket. The most you can make on that venue, if you sell every seat, is $4,000, but your artist is $5,000 right off the bat. Right. So everything from that point, you're wasting your time. So why would you even do that event?
It sounds like common sense.
It's common sense.
Down to common sense.
But they don't sit down and count up the cost. Okay. I've come across that time and time and time again. And I'm like, they wonder why they're not doing good. They wonder why their ministry isn't going anywhere. Because the same money that I have, that I stretched in 5 or 10 different directions, you lost yours back there somewhere. Right. But I took that same money and I counted up the cost. $500 for that, $1,000 for that, another $500. So I done stretched that same money, $5,000 in 10 different areas.
So as far as like when you started, you know, why now? It's timing, God's timing. And then the key to longevity is basically just common sense. I'm trying to think of a nice flowery way to put it, but it just boils down to, you know, does it make sense when you weigh it out, when you weigh out the expenses and the cost and the potential profit? Does this thing make sense?
And that's true. Overall, people don't do projects, or artists can't get their projects out because they ran out of money. Right. Well, if you would have been wise and maneuvered the money you had, you would have found out how far that money could have stretched. Right. And this is, to me, this is a fallacy of what a lot of artists do, and it's one reason. The record label, Newsome Kingdom Records, that God put in my heart to start. We have an amazing artist, Joanna Connor. Yes. She's part of the label. Group Divine of Annapolis, totally hot, amazing group of young ladies
artists across the label.
They are doing an amazing work. We have some up and coming artists. We created kind of like 2 platforms for artists with us. We wanted developing artists we knew we had to develop, which I don't mind. I used to manage artists years ago, and I did it for a little bit, and I don't want to manage anymore because it's too much work.
Right.
So, but I try to keep it simple.
Okay.
Try to keep it, but over the years, like I said, I studied the industry.
Right.
A lot of people just jump in and like, oh, I want to go to this program, I want to go to that program.
Study.
But you got to study just like your craft.
Right. You have to study it to perfect it.
Right. You want to be a reporter, you have to study reporters. You have to study to the point where, okay, what questions do we ask? How do we do it? You just have to study what you're doing.
So you're very selective with your artists.
Exactly. Because I encourage my artists, and I talk to them all the time. Listen, make sure you're going on appointments, you're doing performances. I get all that,
Right.
but make sure you can afford where you're going. You don't want to go somewhere that's going to cost you $1,000, and then when I turn around and say, okay, you went somewhere for that $1,000, what did you get back?
Right.
Well, I went to perform. You could have performed here in Baltimore.
Right.
So what'd you get? You have to tell me what you got out of that performance. Why are you spending $1,000? Because I would not let you waste my time.
Right.
Spending money that availeth nothing. That's a waste of time.
So when you're looking for artists, or when artists are looking to come to you, they also have to have that common sense.
Yeah, the hard part with working with me is that it's hard to work with me, because I pick everybody that work with me. They can't come to me and tell me they want to work with me.
So artists that are listening, they can't just approach you and say, hey, I want to be on your label.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. You've got to see in them what it is that you need to see.
That's exactly
in order
what
for
it
them.
is.
Okay.
That's exactly what I build. Like I tell everybody I work with, I build relationships.
Okay.
Business, no, they probably never come. I build relationships with everybody, and I work with so many people around the country and other countries. I work with people everywhere, advise people everywhere. But those people, I have relationships with those people.
Right.
I said years and years
key.
ago, if we're just in the business relationship, we only talk business. But if we know each other, something about each other, it becomes more personal.
Right.
So when I know what you're experiencing in life, and you know what I'm experiencing in life, we better have a better understanding. As far as business, and I very seldom do I just do business with anybody.
Right.
And like I said, I do a lot, and I love doing what I've been doing it for years and years and years, and I love it. Wouldn't change it for nothing in the world.
Right. And I'm loving your journey because it's straightforward. It's no question. Very open, very direct. I love it. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Fred Newsome.
Thank you.
Dr. Fred Newsome. We're going to continue our conversation because he has shared his journey, his journey that has brought him to this point with his own record label. He shared his vision, just very straightforward, very direct. I just absolutely love it. We're going to come back in a little bit and continue this conversation about another part of his journey, because his journey is not just one-dimensional. This is Paula G. This is my journey. We'll be back in a moment. My Journey. I'm your host, Paula G, and we're here with Dr. Fred Newsome. And before the break, we had a conversation about his journey, and he shared with us some just straightforward wisdom about his journey and what has brought him to this point. And what we're going to kind of shift and talk a little bit about now is another journey that he's very passionate about, and another journey that he is on now and kind of moving forward. So tell us a little bit about that journey, and what is your passion? What feeds your soul on that journey?
Well, Paula, the next journey is my journey in the political arena.
Okay.
I'm extremely passionate, extremely excited about working in the political arena. I'll tell you how I got started. Actually, I think in 2010, I ran for political office. I've always been fascinated with politics and, Congress and the things they would do in Washington, D.C. But then when I used to see different congressmen, congresswomen on the floor, in Washington, and I looked at some of the things and the points they were arguing over, and I was like, wow, those seem like real simple solutions to me.
Right.
And it took them like a long time to figure out, well, how do we do this? And then we got to have this meeting and that debate. And I just went on. I said, you know what? I want to try politics.
Wow.
I'm going to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Now, you had never done politics.
Never done politics before. But I knew enough to know right from wrong.
Right.
And to me, that's what a lot of it just boiled down to.
Right.
Either right or wrong. So when I ran for political office, I ran in District 10 in Baltimore County, and I did the debates. Had to go on different debates, and I thought the debates were exhilarating. I mean, like, wow, you get a chance to get up there and speak, and you got I think you like 5 to 7 minutes, but you got a chance to get up there and debate against the other candidates in the race, and as I was going more and more, I was liking it more and more and more.
It was growing on you.
It was growing on me in a big way.
Right.
And it's kind of like I got bit with that bug, and with all the coverage, media coverage, with people recording your outline, your debates in different newspapers and stuff like that, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. But I noticed a lot of it was just common sense.
Right.
Basically, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? How would you handle this? How would you handle that? I'm like, that's it?
Because they make it sound so complicated.
They do.
They make it sound so complicated.
And if you notice, the average person can run.
Right.
All you need to be is a citizen. So everybody's not that educated just because you're a citizen.
Right.
So that being said, I looked at, even to this day, I see a lot of people that's in offices today. And I'm like, how'd you get that again? But remember, you get in because the majority of people voted for you.
Right.
That doesn't mean you have to know anything about the position. You just have to have a lot of friends that'll go out and vote for you.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and once you get in there, you're like, really? Do I know what I'm doing?
Right.
I'll figure it out as we go along. I got 4 years to work on it.
That's weird.
And that's where, and that's where you get your ups and downs, you get your chaos, you get but then you get people in office who are really extremely wise, who are extremely knowledgeable, who actually want to go in there and make a difference. And those are the people I like, the ones that want to go in there and make a change. So even though I ran in 2010 in the Baltimore County area, I didn't get the position, but the experience was amazing. Because I looked at it and I said, wow, all you gotta do is get enough people that know you to vote for you. And I have, even to this day, I have friends in political offices, and they're doing an amazing job. Right. But it took me to the point where I ran in 2010, ran in 2014, didn't get it again, but I'm like, as I'm going along, I'm gaining experience. And
still taking notes like you were on those
still
bus trips.
Taking notes, exactly. You got to be a note taker. I don't care what you do. You got to be a note taker, recording the experiences, and okay, this is why they won. This is how that happened. I examine everything. Even when I ran in 2014, I'm a numbers person. I count up the cost on everything. So I knew if I spent X amount of dollars on this election, I should get X amount of votes. I was like,
so you did the math on it.
I was only five votes off.
Wow.
I said, I'm going to spend this much money, and I know I'm going to get this many votes because I knew my market, I knew what was going on, I knew the community, I knew different areas.
Right.
but I didn't know the people I ran against had more debates than me. So in 2014, I got in on 2 debates. They got in on 7. I said, okay, somehow y'all pulled something over on me there. But overall, I would have even won 2014,
Right.
because I was the head runner in the race. So, but if you don't take part in the debates,
Right.
that's your biggest advantage point.
So now in 2018, where do we see ourselves now and beyond?
2018, I'm actually want to I started Newsome Political Party, but I want the Newsome Party to be a huge party, not only here in Maryland, but across the country.
Okay.
Because I looked at everything that's involved in the political arena. And I've advised people in the political arena, and seeing people get in office that I've advised, and I'm like, okay, because to me, advising somebody and getting into political office, it was a practice for me as well, because I had never done it before. And like I said, 2010 was my first start.
Right.
And I said, okay, this works. So seeing that, I said, okay, I want to start my own political party though. I said, I want to have a party that's going to be honest, forward, upright, not going to go with the special interest here and the special interest there.
Right.
I said, I want to see, can we pull that together? So I contacted state of Maryland and said, listen, I want to start my own party. Can I do that? It was like, sure, just put in the paperwork.
Just that easy.
And I put in the paperwork, and sure enough, they sent me a document back saying, okay, Newsome Party is officially in the state of Maryland.
So, but it doesn't just apply to the state of Maryland, because you had expressed earlier some interest and concern in regard to Georgia. Did you mention that earlier? In regard to a particular person running for an office that that you were interested in.
That's actually here in Maryland.
And here in Maryland, okay.
Here in Maryland. So I'm excited about, I won't mention the name, but I'm excited about working with this individual here in Maryland.
Okay.
Who I'm sure is going to get into office. Okay. But it's amazing, because working with individuals that have the opportunity to make change in the state. And those are your political leaders.
Right.
They're the ones who implement laws, who draft laws, who put laws together, and they get voted on in the House, they get voted on in the Senate. And if they pass the House and the Senate, and the governor may have his say, but I mean, overall, you get some good bills passed that really bring about great change and great effectiveness. And that's when people, I know people like marching and people like doing a lot of things, but you gotta try to get in a political office where you have the biggest influence.
And and the other thing too is, I think what people need to understand is the importance of the local elections. People come out in droves for the presidential election,
Exactly.
but they've got to come out for those local elections, because in some instances they wonder, well, how did this person, wind up the House? How did this person wind up in the Senate? Because you didn't come out and vote, those local, for the city the commissioner and, all of those particular, those offices. So can you speak to that a little bit, the importance of coming out and vote, being aware of the local elections and coming out and voting?
Well, I think we don't realize, and people have to realize how important that one little vote is. That little ballot you cast,
Yes.
but on that ballot you may have 10 or 15 areas you can vote on, 10 or 15 people you can vote on.
Right.
If your one vote makes such a big difference, and even I tell my family, and I'm not a big person that talk about my family, but I tell my family, listen, you cannot pass up the opportunity to vote, because a lot of people gave their lives
Just so you could...
you can push that lever, or well, when they had the lever, but now you're feeling a bubble. But overall, a lot of people gave their lives just so you can have that one right.
Right.
And now we don't have the luxury or the option to pass it up and say, you know what, I'm not going to vote this year. You have to vote.
Right.
Or you can get people in office that you don't want in office, and then you sit there and wonder, well, how did they get in?
Exactly.
And I asked you, did you vote? And you tell me no. And I said, well, that's how they got in.
That's how they got in.
That one vote makes a big difference. If people want to see change in not only in Maryland but across the country, anywhere, you have to get out there and vote.
So how do you feel in regard to, our current state of affairs and, the accusations of tampering within our election and, the issues with the Electoral College, and some people have just gotten discouraged and they say, well, what's the point of me voting? If these things are going to happen anyway, if we don't have any control over the Electoral College and we've got tampering, in our government when it comes to our vote, why should I vote?
You know what? I'll say this, and I know our time is limited, but even I do believe tampering went on with the election here in America.
Right.
In spite of what anybody says, I do believe it went on here in America. I think a lot of people are dodging it. I'm not going to mention no names.
Right.
But I think at the same time, this is the best system we have right now, because realize anything done on the internet, on the computer, that there's potential for that to be hacked.
Right.
So I mean, I'll say somebody designed a program and said, you know what, let's go in and hack that system.
Right.
And they went and hacked the system, but what little do people know, that was already out years ago.
Right.
They had another company that had people had went in and showed how they hacked the election and showed how they could change one vote to 50 votes. So all this was out about 5 or 10 years ago. But just so happens maybe another country put it into play.
Right.
But this is old news.
Right.
But here in America, I mean, I've just seen the thing play out. And I'm just looking and I'm like, but this is the best system we have right now.
Okay.
And you just have to punish the people if you ever catch them. Right. You have to punish the people for the wrong. And I said, like I said, this is just simple right and wrong. Even in your court system, it's right and wrong. In your police, it's right and wrong. There's no gray areas. Right. Either you're right or you're wrong. If the system here in America was hacked, then that be the case. Who is ever in office now and benefited from that hack should not be in office. Right. Just like we do Olympians. If you had a gold medal from 20 years ago and they found back then you used some performance enhanced drugs, you lose that medal.
Lose it just like that.
Well, that has to be straight across the board. Like I said, it's a fair system, right and wrong. And that has to be the case with our Electoral College. I think, I've actually seen how they select those individuals for the Electoral College. Right. And the process I saw is you can be, Joe Blow and like, hey, Joe, you want to be electorate? And I'm like, what? Is that easy? Yeah, I looked at I told you I study everything. And I'll tell you why. Because when I used to have downtime, I used to go to the library. The library is a great source of information.
It sure is.
Library is a great source of information. I used to go to the library, and I used to take out 19 videos at a time. And when I wasn't doing the Newsome Awards or the show had just got done, and I might have a couple of weeks on my hands, and I just say, you know what? I just put in video after video. Look at video after video, documentary, everything. Just watch them. Just sit there, absorb all this information. And when I got to the Electoral College and how they're selected, it totally floored me. They just said, hey, you want to be elected? And, because I think some states have like 2 Electoral College votes or however that breaks down. And the process they took to do that, I would not give anybody that process. Because it could be a person walking down the street, as long as you're a registered voter, as long as you're over a certain age. Yeah, you can be an Electoral College person. Wow. Just that easy.
Wow.
I said that's impossible.
So when you get into office.
Right. Right.
We're just talking. We're just having a conversation. What are some things, or what is one thing that you would like to see changed?
The thing I would like to see the process fair, and people will say, "Well, it can't be fair." Yes, it can. You just don't want it to be fair. The process can be fair. The voting system can be fair. People that get into office, I need to see people in office who's actually going to do something. Just getting in there because you got a majority of the votes and you have accomplished nothing your first 1, 2, 3 years, you just wasted everybody's time. No, I want to see people in office who actually go do something, like people that work around me. You can't work around me, you're not going to do anything. Right. I'm extremely selective about the people that work around me. Everybody that works around me, I have to see them doing something.
Right. If demonstrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or I'm that type of person, I would just drop you immediately. I'll give you a warning. Like, oh, you probably want to pick that up a little bit. Don't do nothing. I'll give you a warning. Yeah, you seem like you're slacking a little bit. After the first or second warning, it's like, you know what, I'm going to just let you go. And people are so shocked, like, did he just drop me? You're not doing anything.
Right.
To me, I've always learned, and I'm a business person,
Yes.
I've always known time is money.
Right.
I've did my associates in business, my bachelor's in business, my master's in business. I finished in a doctorate in business. I got another doctorate of divinity, worked on a PhD in leadership and management. So all I know is to push.
Right.
And if you're not carrying your weight, then that means I'm carrying it. And I promise you, I'm not carrying it.
Right.
And when
We all got our own.
Yeah, we got our own burdens. The Bible tells you that.
Yes.
We have our own burdens to bear. So I think everybody should bear their own burdens.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your music journey, your political journey. Thank you so much for sharing with us, and we wish you much success.
Thank you.
On your continued journey. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fred Newsome has shared his journey here on My Journey with your host, Paula G. Hey family, this is Paula G, and you are watching Music Vision Television right here on PositivePower21.org.